Our top local story on WBBM: residents in the city's South Shore neighborhood want the city to reverse the plan to house migrants at the vacant South Shore High School. They vented their feelings at a community meeting last night. WBBM's Carolina Garibay with the story.
One thing South Shore residents made clear is that they're angry and want answers.
I'm outraged and I don't understand why our community was chosen. We should have been contacted. We should have been, a huge meeting should have been taking place.
Several residents also brought up issues of safety and security.
Honestly, I'm a little afraid. I know we have gangs in this community here in Chicago, over here where we are. I'm afraid that they might fight among themselves because the gangs here over here, they can't control them. So
city officials reminded residents that the school will be a temporary place of respite for migrants, not a shelter, and assured them that CPD will put 24/7 officers at the school. Carolina Garibay, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Mayor Johnson says he's working with members of the city council as he crafts a plan to use winterized tents to house migrants who are being brought to the city.
Here on the far south side, Mayor Johnson said the plan to create tent cities for asylum seekers is being considered through necessity. Migrants continue to be sent to Chicago by the busloads from Texas and elsewhere.
We've identified multiple locations around the city that can be suitable to treat the families and individuals who by law are seeking asylum constitutionally and legally, to have a place that recognizes their dignity.
The mayor was here to help celebrate major federal funding for the southward expansion of the CTA's Red Line. Near 111th Street, Craig Dellamore, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Our top local story is hundreds of migrants are expected to move to Daly College. Migrants are already there, so there's not a lot of space. WBBM's Carolina Garibay explains.
A small strip mall across the street from Daly College has become a second place of refuge for about a dozen Venezuelan migrants who have already arrived at the college. Yoribet Silva says she arrived with her 2 children on June 4th. She says it's been mostly good, besides how crowded it is. It's the university's field, Silva says, so there are lots of people. And because there are so many couples with their kids, she says it's always really full, which is why she and others are hanging out outside, despite a downpour. I need to find a way to go out for a bit, Silva says, since I have kids and we're so cramped. But other than the crowding, Silva says she's honestly doing well and plans to be at the college for about a month before likely being moved somewhere else. Carolina Garibay, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Chicago's faith community gathered in Lincoln Park this afternoon asking neighbors to commit to housing and supporting migrants living in police stations.
Everyone needs the ability to realize their hopes and their dreams.
Alderman Mike Rodriguez of the 22nd Ward on the southwest side was among those who spoke at Lincoln Park Presbyterian Church on the 600 block of West Fullerton.
There is nowhere in the country that has more heart or more hope than our great city. We are a welcoming city.
City council members, faith leaders, and other community members are spearheading an initiative which asks faith groups to commit to supporting one migrant family or group for 1 year as they settle in. Rabbi Seth Limmer says it's a matter of compassion, not numbers.
Take account of their humanity as they take account of our humanity.
Reverend Dr. Beth Brown of Lincoln Park Presbyterian says Chicagoans do not have to make so-called false choices.
We can choose to do both, to invest in our black and brown neighborhoods and communities, and we can provide hospitality to strangers.
Terry Keshner, 105.9 WBBM.
Some residents of Brighton Park continue to protest Mayor Johnson's plan to erect a migrant base camp in their backyard.
The horns are honking in support of the protesters here at 38th and California as dump trucks file in and out of the 10-acre site. One said we're not against them, but we're not with them either, meaning, of course, the migrants.
And do you feel like the city just kind of forced this on the neighborhood?
It's forcing it not in the neighborhood, in Chicago, I believe.
Truthfully, there's going to be a lot of problems.
Why do you think that?
Right now, there's a lot of problems around here. There's robberies and everything over here. You don't think they're going to double?
Some opposing this site are immigrants themselves. A sign affixed to a fence across the street reads, "We are uneasy and scared." A lawsuit has been filed, raising concerns about what's being stirred up in the soil on the site. In Brighton Park, Mike Krauser, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Our top story, leaders are updating reporters at City Hall right now about Chicago's efforts to shelter and assist migrants being bused here from Texas. The latest numbers show more than 3 buses are expected today, and dozens of advocates for immigrants' rights renewed their push to make sure those migrants can work when they get here. WBBM's Brandon Eisen with the story.
Permisos para quién?
Local elected officials joined immigrant workers, community members, and other leaders chanting their demands for President Joe Biden loudly in a small plaza while holding umbrellas in the rain. Work permits now.
My father was deported over 12 years ago.
17-year-old Mahalia Velasco says that her father, undocumented and working in the U.S. for decades, was never offered a work permit, about 500,000 of which have now been afforded recently arrived asylum seekers.
But he still paid his taxes, and he still worked hard every single day of his life, just like many of our people.
And while she's not yet old enough to vote, she says that her siblings are, and that there is a larger push to register and organize the Latino vote.
So us as Latinos can show the power in numbers and be the largest Latino voters to turn out in history.
Chicago is home to more than 180,000 undocumented workers, and they're among more than 11 million working and living across the U.S.
If he will not give us protection, we will not vote him in the re-election.
In Pilsen, Brandon Eisen, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Well, the migrants sheltering in Little Village received the holiday season feast today with an assist from members of the Chicago Bears.
Hundreds of migrants were welcomed at a Salvation Army site on the southwest side, the 3600 block of West 24th Street, for a pre-Thanksgiving meal. Jessica Martinez is with the Salvation Army. She says just because migrants are getting a lot of attention, that does not mean other Chicagoans are not being helped as well.
We help everyone in need. We are not saying, no, you are not going to help. You are not going to help you because you are a migrant, or we are not going to help you because we are from Chicago. We help everybody to come to our doors.
Several Bears players came through the doors this time to lend a hand in the kitchen, dishing out traditional Venezuelan food. Bears receiver Velus Jones Jr.
It's a great feeling, coming up. I wasn't in the best situation. But like I said, I really worked hard, to get where I am today, and just to see these kids, I see myself.
Terry Keshner, 105.9 WBBM.
Mayor Johnson says his administration is committed to using tented cabins to house migrants bused here from the southern border, but not the one at Brighton Park. The Pritzker administration says environmental samples at that site are 30th in California, so it is not suitable for planned use. WBBM's Andy Dame reports opponents of the shelter plan were celebrating that decision.
Rain was falling, but horns were honking, and many residents here were celebrating the news.
It's like if I hit the lottery. It's not I only hit the lottery, my neighborhood hit the lottery.
Today I get a good news. That's why I'm feeling like I'm not feel sad. I'm happy. I cry is for my happy.
Thank God somebody, the state of Illinois, finally said this is ludicrous.
But there is also concern for those who live near the site. Ricardo Palacio says the city has already put residents at risk by tapping into contaminated soil.
Right now, they just finished opening up Pandora's box. Opening up Pandora's box, now guess what? People are going to end up getting sick because they already uncovered some of it.
Richard Zupkis agrees.
I spoke with the water department workers while they were here, and they were telling me it's the worst soil they've ever encountered.
In Brighton Park, Andy Dane, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Community organizations are out this weekend hoping to send newly arrived migrants into the new year with a full stomach. WBBM's Brandon Eisen reports.
Come on now, you eating good food.
That description of a warm meal served outside in nearly freezing temperatures to dozens of migrants outside a shelter on South Halsted comes from local chef Michael Earhart, founder of the nonprofit Taste for the Homeless.
Good food. Come on.
A pre-New Year's meal done Chicago style, says Chef Earhart. So what's on the menu?
We have everything from soul food, from baked macaroni, green beans, spaghetti, corn muffins, mac and cheese, everything you need, we have.
Earhart tells us that he was among the first to respond last year when the first migrant-filled buses arrived in the area. He now offers hot meals every day to anyone, regardless of how long they've lived in the city. He does this through donations and out of his own pocket. He's among the growing number of community members willing and able to help, but still waiting on that call from the city to bring all of these organizations together for a more coordinated response to this humanitarian crisis. On the Lower West Side, Brandon Eisen, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.